Hey everyone, it's Joe Beethoven, and I'm back to finally bring you my masterful analysis of the Alan Wake 2 release date / gameplay trailer. Now you may be thinking, this kinda took a while to come out. I mean, shouldn't I have struck while the iron was hot? I should have made this video right away. I shouldn't have waited so many days. Well, I would agree with you. However, since the release of this trailer, there has been a flood of new information relating to Alan Wake 2, both from the website and from various Instagram posts. So, I kept waiting to see when this information would stop, and I tried my best to gather all of it so that this analysis could be as complete as possible. So I had to keep revising the script and the video because more information and images kept being released. As a result, I've decided to make this not only a trailer breakdown, but also a collection of as much of the available information on Alan Wake 2 as possible. As I go through the trailer, I will be supplementing my thoughts and theories with the information I have collected from the Alan Wake website, as well as Sam Lake and Ilka Vili's recent Instagram posts. With all of this information, I believe we will be able to piece together a decent picture of what Alan Wake 2 will look like when it comes out. Sound good? Alright, then let's start off with Remedy's summary of Alan Wake 2's plot, which I will of course be delivering in a funny, dramatic narrator voice. Saga Anderson, an FBI profiler with a reputation for solving unsolvable cases, arrives in Bright Falls to investigate a string of ritualistic murders. The case slides into a nightmare when Anderson discovers pages of a horror story that starts to come true. Alan Wake, a lost writer trapped in a nightmare prison beyond our world, writes a dark story to shape reality in a desperate bid to escape. Hunted by an insatiable horror, Wake struggles to retain his sanity and beat the devil at his own game. Anderson and Wake, two heroes on two desperate journeys, two separate realities connected in ways neither of them can understand. Echoes become reflections that can reach out to each other. Trapped in a horror story where there are only victims and monsters, can they break out to be the heroes they need to be? Does that sound awesome enough for you? Because it does for me. I'm freaking out over here. Sorry about that. The point is, I love this plot summary, and it gives us enough of an idea without revealing too much, which Remedy is very good at, of course. And am I the only one thinking that the insatiable horror / devil that Wake needs to beat at his own game is most likely Mr. Scratch? In fact, definitely Mr. Scratch. Finally getting to see the showdown between Alan and Mr. Scratch is a dream come true for me. But that's not all the information we have here. There's a lot more to learn, to discover, and to share with each other, so let's get into it. For starters, we have the aforementioned ritualistic serial killer. Now this scene is definitely a callback to the dead body and deer masks that we saw in the announcement trailer. This seems to very heavily point toward a deer-related cult. Perhaps they worship Mr. Scratch, the darkness, or both, and Alan seemingly has a connection to this serial killer, as he has a nightmare-ish reaction, like he's waking up from a nightmare once the knife stabs the victim. Does this mean the killer is Mr. Scratch, or is Alan just attuned with the nightmare so well at this point that he can feel the evil growing? Don't know exactly what's going on here, but I do believe there's a connection between Alan and this killer. Very interesting. Next up, we have Saga Anderson, who is, as we said, our second playable character. Now, according to the Alan Wake website, Saga Anderson is an accomplished FBI agent with a reputation for solving impossible cases. She arrives in the small-town community of Bright Falls in the Pacific Northwest to investigate a string of ritualistic murders. Anderson's case spirals into a nightmare when she discovers pages of a horror story that start to come true around her and suggest disturbing links to Alan Wake, a writer who went missing in the area over a decade ago. She sounds pretty awesome if you ask me. Now, this dual perspective gameplay is sort of a fulfillment of one of the original plans for Alan Wake, where Alan and Agent Nightingale would have both been the playable characters. Interesting that they went for that here, finally. I personally don't think that Agent Anderson should have been the main focus of this trailer, as we have been waiting so long to see Alan again. Though I am still excited to see her story. Remedy makes amazing heroes. They've never failed to make an amazing lead character. I just think this trailer would have been more triumphant if we had gotten a deeper glimpse into what is going on with Alan. With so little information being released for the past year and a half, focusing on the new character for the trailer seems like an odd choice. But maybe that was a conscious decision. Maybe they wanted to keep Alan's story more mysterious because the bigger reveals are there. I don't know. I just wish we could have seen more Alan in this trailer. That's the fanboy in me. Moving on, we see that Saga's partner has the face of Sam Lake and the voice of James McCaffrey, which is of course a callback to Max Payne, but more recently, it's a callback to Quantum Break and Control. Quantum Break's return Easter egg saw two agents investigating the disappearance of Alan Wake, one of whom was played by Sam Lake and voiced by, you guessed it, James McCaffrey, and that agent's name was Alex Casey, the main character from Alan Wake's best-selling book series. This was elaborated upon through files you could find in the Federal Bureau of Control, which pointed out the weirdness of an investigator with that name actually existing and trying to track down Alan Wake. If the game follows the Quantum Break Easter egg, however, Alex Casey will probably die at some point during the story. Also, the investigation in Alan Wake 2 isn't about Alan Wake. Instead, it's about the death of Agent Robert Nightingale at the hands of our deer-faced serial killer. This seemingly brings resolution to Nightingale's character, as the last time we saw him, he was taken by the darkness and then creepily staring at Rose from a window. But is Nightingale actually dead, or is he a denizen of the darkness, as others have theorized? We'll have to wait to find out. Now we finally get to talk about our hero, Alan Wake. Alan is trapped in the dark place and is writing a horror story starring our two FBI agents and the deer-faced serial killer. Alan is still in the cabin, writing the manuscript for return, as he was at the end of the original Alan Wake's DLC and in Control's AWE DLC. As it says on the Remedy website, for 13 years, Alan has been a prisoner in the dark place, where his nightmares, his fears, and his stories manifest as reality around him. For 13 years, he has been fighting to stay sane and write a story that would change reality around him in order for him to escape. So far, he has failed. These details are interesting because it suggests that Alan's attempt to escape in Control was unsuccessful, that Jesse was somehow unable to help him, or maybe these are all pieces of the puzzle and the groundwork he laid in AWE will come to fruition in Alan Wake 2 when Jesse shows up. I'm really hoping for that. That's my main hope. I really want Jesse to show up in Alan Wake 2. But I digress. Let's focus back up. So here we see Alan writing Return. However, he is now facing away from the cabin's windows, unlike at the ending of Alan Wake, which is an interesting detail. It may not mean anything, but I find it intriguing. Ilkavili also posted live-action shots of this setting, showing Alan in his new sharp suit and working on the story while facing away from the windows, which makes me even more intrigued. These shots also confirm the presence of live-action content, which I talked about in my last Alan Wake video. Next, we have a shot of Bright Falls, which looks pretty much the same, except the banners say that this is the 81st Deerfest, confirming my theory from the original teaser trailer. Also, you could see a few civilians setting up for the celebration, including this man, who kind of looks like Mott from the first game. Though Mott is most likely dead, and this man could just be a fisherman, it is interesting. You can of course see the Oh Deer Diner in the background, one of the most important locations from the first game. Moving on, we see the agents finding a manuscript page written about them, just like Alan did in the first game. This may imply that Agent Saga Anderson will be having the more traditional Alan Wake experience, including collecting manuscript pages in the real world, as well as fighting the Taken. This was hinted at in the original teaser by showing Alan flash between the real world and the dark place, suggesting that we would get to exist in both. The Alan Wake website further elaborates on this concept of dual realities. It has a profile for the Pacific Northwest and the Dark Place. Here's the Pacific Northwest profile. The majestic landscapes stretch across Washington State in the United States Pacific Northwest. Nature is beautiful and rich here, but there is something hauntingly mysterious and primordial about the dark woods, forested valleys, and foggy mountains. There are 3 distinct locations to explore in the Pacific Northwest region. The quirky and idyllic town of Bright Falls is also the home of the annual Deerfest. Nearby is the rundown city of Wateree, founded by Finnish immigrants around the logging and fishing industry. Cauldron Lake, a caldera lake outside Bright Falls, is a striking landmark. It used to be a popular hiking destination, but since it was fenced off by an obscure government agency years ago, it has gained a reputation as a place to avoid. What government agency might that be, do you think? Well, it is definitely the Federal Bureau of Control. This was fully established in control that the Bureau had taken over the Cauldron Lake area and was monitoring it for any activity, seeing if there would be another AWE. And at the end of the AWE DLC, we also got to confirm that there would be an AWE a few years into the future, which is most likely the events surrounding Alan Wake 2. This is really exciting because it gives an even greater hint that Jesse might show up in this game, which is hugely exciting for me. This profile also suggests that the game will be much more explorable, giving us access to Bright Falls, the town of Watery, and Cauldron Lake, which is very exciting as there will probably be many more collectibles, little hints, little lore details you can look out for, and the original Alan Wake was going to be open world, so we're seeing yet another fulfillment of the original vision that the team at Remedy had. Next up, we have the Dark Place profile, which is a bit shorter but still contains great information. A nightmarish dark reality waiting under Cauldron Lake. The Dark Place operates on dream logic, shifting and looping, drawing its appearance from the mind of whoever comes in contact with it. Alan Wake is trapped in its depths, his fears and his stories manifesting as reality around him. Wake used to write crime books set in New York City. Now the Dark Place takes the form of a twisted, nocturnal New York. That's right, Alan is in New York, at least a twisted version of it. I said it looked like New York, and I was correct. He has created a Dark Place version of New York from his own imagination. That's what he has to fight through, that's what he has to survive in. I am so excited to see Alan navigate this world. I'm also wondering why he has to leave the cabin. What pushes him outside his comfort zone, outside the safety of the cabin, to explore this dark New York? I don't know, but I'm really excited to find out. Also, in this picture next to the Dark Place profile, you can see tagged on the wall the letters AWE, which fans know stands for Altered World Events, which the Federal Bureau of Control investigates. However, this is also a callback to Quantum Break, which had the letters AWE tagged on multiple walls. Now, last I checked, Remedy does not own the rights to Quantum Break, so I'm not ready to say this is a confirmation that Quantum Break will have a connection with Alan Wake 2. But I am hopeful. I'm hopeful that someday Remedy will get the rights back and we'll see Jack Joyce full on enter into this world, meet Alan, meet Jesse. I'm a hopeful guy. What can I say? I really hope this happens. Alright, if we move forward, we now come to our first shot of gameplay, with Agent Anderson looking very Resident Evil as she approaches the Cauldron Lake General Store. The store looks very run down, which is probably as the result of people no longer hanging out around Cauldron Lake because it's been fenced off by the Federal Bureau of Control. This makes sense. As Anderson enters the store, you can hear a Taken reciting what sounds like a chant, and this is further confirmation of the deer-faced cultists for the darkness. Perhaps they've even willingly chosen to become Taken. In this shot, you can see a poster that looks like it says the 68th Annual Deer Fest, which of course further confirms that Cauldron Lake has been abandoned since the events of the first Alan Wake, and right after those events, the Federal Bureau of Control showed up, so of course this store would be abandoned. Also, this moment is super scary, very effective. Look at this guy, he's terrifying. This is going to be a tough enemy to beat. Next, we have a series of quick shots that contain a lot of information, so let's try to slow things down a bit. First, we have a shot of Alan in a tagged-up cityscape, which we now know is Dark Place, New York, and this is similar to what we saw in the first teaser. Not much to see here except Alan's beautiful face / Ilkavili's beautiful face and his sharp suit in its full glory. Looking good, Alan. Next, we see the deer cultists heading towards Elderwood Lodge in Elderwood National Park from the first game. Interestingly, the sun has not set yet, showing that these masked men must not be part of the Taken, once again suggesting willing participation in this cult of evil. Next up is Alan making a call in a phone booth. In the original teaser, the faint sound of a phone ringing could be heard, and in the concept art that was released, we could see Alan answering one of these phones. Will the phones be Alan's way of connecting with Agent Anderson, or maybe Jesse Faden, or could it be Thomas Zane? Speaking of which, could it be possible that Alex Casey is Thomas Zane somehow in a new physical form? They have the same voice actor after all, and since Zane's godlike powers of rewriting reality could be seen as a metaphor for Sam Lake creating the world of Alan Wake, maybe we are in for a big reveal about Zane and Casey being one and the same. Or maybe Alan wrote Alex Casey into reality because he knew that his own creation would be able to find him. Who knows? I love these kinds of questions. The next shot is the big one. We see Alan moving through the dark place, revolver in hand, ready to fight for his life. We can see him carrying a satchel, perhaps hinting at an inventory system, which would make sense for a survival horror game. The satchel was also visible in the teaser trailer. Also, in the top right corner, we can see a neon sign that says, View. View. Which is of course the second half of the sign we saw in the first teaser, confirming the presence of the Ocean View Hotel? What the heck? It was called the Ocean View Motel in Control. Why is it called a hotel here? Suspicious. There's also a giant poster off to the side that I couldn't make out at first, but I was pretty sure, this was my guess, that it said the cult. It says the see something, and since so much of the trailer was about a cult, this was my guess. And this was confirmed later in an Instagram post from Sam Lake showing the other part of the poster, confirming my suspicions about the cult of darkness. This is real, people. The deer-faced people are serving the darkness. They are a cult, and they seemingly have a Broadway show. Good for them. You can also see a sign that says Illumination with an arrow pointing forward. Possibly a hidden objective marker for the player, or maybe the dark place is directing Alan in some way, and thus also directing us? Don't know. We'll see. And for a little bonus, this other screenshot posted by Sam Lake shows the triangle symbols that we saw in the original teaser trailer for Alan Wake 2, but this time as sort of hanging wind chimes. I didn't know what they were in the original teaser, but now I think it's safe to assume that these triangles are the symbol for the deer cult, and they hang or get etched at their crime scenes. It makes sense to me. Next up, we see Agent Anderson facing off against an enemy of some sort. It looks like a brand new Taken, since there are still some very discernible features on his face, whereas the Taken are usually completely shrouded in darkness. However, they do usually have a clear physical form, which is what makes this next shot very interesting. The enemies that Alan is fighting here seem completely intangible, more like smoke than actual physical beings. Why is this the case? Are these enemies a more advanced form of Taken, or are they existing in the real world and the dark place simultaneously, taking on a physical form for Anderson and a more terrifying darkness form for Alan? This would make sense since Remedy talked about reflections between the two realities. Also, while Anderson is shown using a flashlight in the trailer, Alan is not. You can only see Alan using a flashlight in an Instagram post by Sam Lake, which seems odd. Also, where's the light bulb wand from the first teaser? Perhaps Remedy is preserving the reveal of the light bulb wand's function? Also, you could see a neon sign that says up, further hinting at the idea of Alan receiving some form of directional guidance. Also, next to the neon sign, you could see the word R tagged on the wall. Not sure what the full phrase on the wall is, but I'm intrigued. Next, we see Agent Anderson facing off with an entirely new and extremely terrifying enemy type. This does not appear to be a being made of darkness, as this six-armed monstrosity clearly has a physical form. This could be the mysterious woman from the concept art that was released last year, however, that would mean that her extra limbs would have to be hidden and grow out of her, which would make her an even creepier person than she already is. Also, her shadow seems extremely detailed, which could just be a sign of the graphical upgrade, or could point to her existing in both the real world and the dark place. Also, it seems like Anderson is in a hospital or nursing home based on the wheelchair over here and the general waiting room vibe with the art on the wall and soft red chairs. After this, we see Anderson pumping a shotgun shell into an enemy and there's blood flying everywhere. What? Blood? We haven't seen the Taken bleed before. Is this a new type of enemy? Is this just a result of Alan Wake 2's M rating? Or perhaps Agent Anderson has a better grip on reality than Alan and is able to see the blood and the corpses whereas Alan could not? That would be more in line with the Alan is crazy interpretation of the series, which I do not subscribe to. Now our last gameplay shot shows Anderson using her flashlight to fight off a particularly inhuman looking monster, which could be a new enemy type or perhaps a Taken that is more evolved than others. And lastly, the trailer closes with Agent Anderson seemingly at Cauldron Lake, interacting with Alan Wake himself. Or is it? If the return Easter egg from Quantum Break is to be believed, Alex Casey and his partner don't meet up with Alan Wake. You know who they do meet up with? Mr. Freaking Scratch! That's right, I have a feeling Remedy is giving us false hope about Alan escaping the dark place, and this final shot is actually Mr. Scratch ready to wreak havoc, starting with the murder of Alex Casey. R.I.P. Now that was the trailer analysis. I hope you enjoyed it, but there is some additional information that I didn't see the need to weave into the analysis. So we're going to bullet point it right here. We're going to go through these pieces of information really quickly. First up, it has been confirmed that Alan Wake 2 is a digital-only release. Am I bummed about this? A little bit. Yeah, I was hoping to hold Alan Wake 2 in my hands, but I do understand the logic. A lot of people are doing only digital, and it's less expensive, and Remedy is not the biggest studio in the world. I get it, but I can't help it. I'm disappointed. I wanted to hold an Alan Wake 2 Special Edition in my hands. Next up, it has been confirmed that there will be 2 DLC expansions to Alan Wake 2, the Night Springs and Lake House expansions. These suggest, of course, that the story will still not be complete with Alan Wake 2, which is a huge relief. I want Alan Wake 3. And these DLCs come with pre-order bonuses such as outfits and weapon skins for our 2 heroes. Will I be pre-ordering the game? Yes, absolutely. I'm going to pre-order the special edition. Now, with Alan Wake 2 being a horror game, I've seen many people worried that it won't feel like the original Alan Wake. Well, here's something that might comfort all of us, because I'm worried about this too. This is from Sam Lake himself. Alan Wake 2 is our first survival horror game. Coming back to Alan Wake, we felt it would be the best genre to tie together the story, the atmosphere, the pacing, and the gameplay more closely than ever before in a Remedy game. We wanted to make this game brutal and harrowing, but not only that, this is an Alan Wake experience, so there are different sides to it. Darkness equals horror, but there are daytime scenes, quirky characters, plenty of humor, and a deep mystery to explore. With this, we feel when it gets scary, it will stay fresh throughout the whole game, and you won't get a chance to get used to it or to become numb to it. Sam Lake also makes clear that while Alan Wake 2 is a standalone experience and playing Alan Wake in AWE is optional, there are many lore secrets and callbacks that only fans will appreciate, so we could look forward to those. All this information, while it may not confirm that Alan Wake 2 will be amazing, even though I'm pretty sure it will be, it does comfort me that it will still feel like Alan Wake. We will still have a similar experience, it's just kicked up several thousand notches. I'm sure it's going to be awesome no matter what, but having this extra reassurance helps me, and I hope it helps you. Alright, there you have it. That was my trailer analysis / internet information dump for Alan Wake 2. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it was pretty long and pretty detailed, but I really wanted to give this my all. I'm so excited for this game. I'm so excited to be back on YouTube, and you guys immediately were so encouraging and supportive. I wanted to give you the best video I could possibly make. If you felt that way, or if you just liked it okay, please be sure to click the like button, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming Masterful content related to Alan Wake or Final Fantasy, because these are kind of the trains I'm on right now. Of course, I'm replaying Alan Wake and other Remedy games to prepare for Alan Wake 2, and I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy to prepare for Final Fantasy 16. So you can look forward to a lot of content related to these 2 franchises, probably leaning a bit more towards Final Fantasy because Alan Wake 2 is probably going to go dark again for a while. Or who knows, they may surprise us and come out with even more details soon, and I'll be right back here talking to you guys because I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited to talk to you about all these new details we have. If you notice something in the trailer or online that I didn't see, please let me know in the comments below. If you have a different interpretation of the information, don't hesitate to tell me. I love a good debate, or maybe you'll just be so clearly right, I'll immediately agree with you. Please don't hesitate to comment below. Let's have a conversation about what we know so far about Alan Wake 2. Alright, that's all for now, guys. God bless you all. I'll catchphrase you later, and this mantra will keep us going for the next few months. I love you all. Alan Wake 2 is coming October 17th, 2023. Bye!